everybody! Welcome back to a Friday with Dannphan, the weekly stream where we just talk about whatever chat wants to talk about and other things maybe. Tragically, the lighting is just awful, isn't it? I switched it up when I was doing like a video with Adam, and now it's just like... Yeah, I mean, like, rainy days are honestly the worst for lighting. Something about the rain just, like, triggers the entire world to look gray. And I have yet to discover a real solution to it. It just, nothing I do works. It just always looks gray, and it just looks like a brighter version of said gray. Nothing I can do. Well... This is about, like, the best it'll get, honestly. Hey, everybody. All the regulars popping into chat. What is up? Oh, I should have, music playing. I forgot about the music. Lo-fi? Sure. Let's chill out to some sick lo-fi. Alrighty. Weather's been meh lately. Yeah, it's pretty much been rainy all week. Next week it's supposed to be better and warmer. So I will prefer that as opposed to what we got right now. Not very happy with this weather. Rainy weather always makes me super tired and not on my game. It's hot too. Like it's specifically hot in this room. But it's like 65 outside, which is like, It doesn't really matter when it's humid. But yes. So, what's new this week? Jesus. It's just a whole lot of nothing. I finally got some feedback for Reaper, so I'm gonna start editing some more stuff up. Still waiting for some illustrations. And, sorry about that, but, sometimes that's just how it be. I also mentioned last Tuesday, or well, not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday that is behind this particular week, that I was reading Berserk. So that's been a project, because obviously there's a lot to catch up on. Finished up, like, volume 24 last night, and I'm still quite behind. It's been going for a while, but yeah. I wonder if I should even bother doing a review for Berserk when I'm finished it, because like it's been around for so long. I feel like most of what's been said about it has probably already been said. From reviewers on YouTube. But you know, it's been raining here for several days. It's only now gotten dry, though it's still cloudy. Yeah, it's been pretty cloudy, for sure. Cloudy and drizzly. Don't like it. Trash weather. And of course, you know, since like it's like more officially spring, like warm enough weather for bugs to survive outside, they're all coming in the house. It's just awful. Like I killed a big spider a couple days ago, and then just this morning I had to kill the biggest fucking hornet that ever existed. Just like this big. I decapitated it with an air duster can, and it was still just moving, like the body and the head were just moving separate from one another. That shit needs to be exercised. That's not okay. It's not okay for bugs to do that. I don't like... I would start a fire if it wasn't rainy outside so that we could just burn them all. But unfortunately, this is not the case. So, I gotta wait for the weather to get better. Then I'll start a big bonfire outside, figure out where that nest is, and just throw it in. Because, dear God. Nothing like that deserves to live. People make an argument like, oh, we should keep bees alive because they pollinate, and that's useful. But what's the argument for hornets? They don't pollinate. They don't do shit. They don't do anything but be scary and sting you. Terrible. Kill them all. We have the technology to extinct certain types of insects. At the very least, like, in the vicinity. We should do that. We should extinct them. It's the only way. Yeah. Terrible. Maybe a monster you should have Ichabod kill later. Yeah, that's the thought. There. That's the thought, yeah. We're gonna throw in a giant hornet into the next Reaper book so that he can decapitate it, and it'll just be like moving around for like over a minute afterwards. Jeez, why does it do that? Like, what makes it do that? I don't like it. It's so unsettling. It's dead, but it's still moving around. No, I hate it. I hate it. Some mirror neuron shit. Not into it. Also inspiration for a certain boss in Metal Gear Solid 3. Yeah, I'll keep that one in mind. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing recently. I guess next video, I edited the next video that's going to come out next week today. And that's a video that I did with Adam, like I mentioned before, with the lighting all different. But yeah, so that's going to be a wildcard video. If you guys are interested in that. Adam came up with this game idea where there's this manga piracy site where you can just click random and it'll show you a random manga series that they have listed on there. And they also list chapters in different languages. So what we decided to do as like part of a game is to try to guess the plot of the manga while looking at the pages in a different language, like without any text, just looking at the pictures. Could we guess the plot of a random manga? And so that was kind of fun. Although I gotta say, it'd be better if we could like filter out certain manga from the randomizer, because yeah, there's also some porn on these piracy sites, but I guess that just made it more funny. So there's that. You know, sometimes you get a bad draw. When you're just like clicking random, you know, sometimes there's gonna be a couple stinkers in there. But yeah, so that's gonna be up on the YouTube coming next week. I guess Wednesday is gonna be the upload day until I get any feedback as to what day is a better upload day to actually be uploading the video. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. We have a bunch of like random fun games that we came up with, but we never really made a series out of any of those games. Like, we did 2 videos, and yeah, they were kind of crappy videos, I won't deny. They were like kind of poor quality as far as the video quality, you know, the location that we decided to record in and everything like that. But the hook of the videos were R34 or real, where we would cover up part of an image and then try to figure out if it's from R34 or if it's from the original cartoon. And that was another fun game that we played. So it is fun doing those types of wild card videos where we just wing it and play a weird challenge or something. We also did the real or fake anime challenge, which we didn't really come up with. Somebody else came up with that online, but we also did a video of that. It's where you write out plot summaries, and then the other person has to figure out whether or not it is a real anime you're describing or a fake one that you just made up on the spot or something, you know? But yeah, there's a good bit of fun challenges that you can do, play with friends and stuff like that. The other wildcard video I had in mind was talking about this really bad dub that I watched all of. And I also have a DCYA read-through to upload at some point as the weeks go by, I suppose, because now I'm going for 1 video per week, which is a lot more relaxing, I'll tell you that much. It's a little... Oh, when you're doing a lot of different stuff at once, you really just need to, like, pull back on something. But yes, that DCYA read-through, it's awful. It's a high baller as far as pure awfulness. Very cringe. Very cringe, yes. So, hopefully I can sneak in a few videos, like, in between that are not nearly as, like, condensed cringe. And, I guess, though, the wildcard videos are, that's what it's made for, right? And there's this other, like, cartoon series that came out that I was thinking of reviewing. It wouldn't take long to review it at all, it's like 2 episodes, but I don't know, because this really has gone pretty far from being a cartoon review YouTube channel. We've kind of almost exclusively transitioned to just talking about, like, comics and anime and stuff, which is generally the type of audience that I want to have hop on here, because I am selling comics, and that is the ultimate career goal at the end of the day, is to continue to sell comics. Continue to make and sell comics, yeah. But, sometimes, you know, sometimes you feel like going back to the old days where you used to review cartoons. Ugh. It was... when I originally started the YouTube channel and I was trying to, like, review some cartoons, it was difficult because I would not want to watch a lot of cartoons. There was a period in time where cartoons just switched to being stuff that I liked to being stuff that I despised. It's just like, you know, they just changed up staff at, like, Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or wherever, and then it was just nothing but stinkers for the longest time. And not everyone agreed with me, of course. A lot of people really liked the new style of cartoons when that transition happened. I did not. I could not stand it. So I would just, like, stop watching a lot of cartoons and then only watch the ones that I was genuinely interested in or had a recommendation for. And then more often than not, I would just give it a bad review. Because I just didn't like it. It was really difficult to find stuff that I liked. And it still kind of is, really. Still kind of can't find any modern day American cartoons that are good. It's like, it's impossible. They're just all garbage now. But you know, it happens. Have you seen the video of Justin Reiner DecuVA dealing with a shipper fan on an MHA panel? Good lord, it was cringe. I bet it was. I bet it was. I have, like, a skit basically about that exact thing that you're describing, where it's like fucking weirdos are allowed to have a mic and ask questions to these anime voice actors, and they have to, like, try to play it off and be polite and everything, but, like, the people asking the questions are certainly not being polite. They're being weirdos. But yeah. Yeah. I have not seen it, but that sounds awful. Oh boy. State of Western cartoons, man. Oh yeah, I know all about it. Have you seen the new X-Men cartoon? I have not. It doesn't look like something I would enjoy. Going back to what I was saying before, I just have not been enjoying any of the American cartoons nowadays. The old ones, sure. A lot of the old cartoons I've enjoyed. Not many of the new ones, or any of the new ones. I can't remember the last, like, actual American cartoon that I enjoyed. It's probably like at least 10 years ago that maybe I enjoyed an American cartoon. Sheesh. I'm convinced Adventure Time ruined cartoons. Yeah, you know, I didn't like Adventure Time. It was about that era. That's like generally the era where I felt the switch in how cartoons are done, and the switch in my brain just went off. It was like I completely disconnected from them, and I didn't enjoy the direction it was going. Other people might have enjoyed it. You know, that's fine. Do you? I didn't. I just was like, oh no, this is worse than it was before. And yeah, now I watch anime. So that's my solution. Just how it goes. Have you watched Glitch Tex? Oh, think it was pretty good modern cartoon. Sadly, just 2 seasons. Never seen or heard of it. But you know. X-Men 97 is probably the only modern Western cartoon that is good, except I have an issue with the female's eyes. I can't get over it. I don't know. The thing that turned me off from watching it the most, it wasn't so much the reviews or even the press, although the press over it was very weird. It was very, very weird. They were talking about like non-binary shit and all that stuff, and it's like, well, let's just talk about X-Men. How about you talk about like superpowers and stuff? But the thing that turned me off is that I found out they did the Rogue Magneto ship. And before you type in the chat, yeah, I know that they tried that in the comics too. Nobody liked it when it happened in the comics either. Nobody liked it. It's weird. It was weird then. It's still weird now. It's like the whole storyline where like Peter Parker kills Mary Jane with his radioactive semen. Like, nobody liked that. Why? Just because they did it in the comics doesn't mean that it was good. So yeah, I think it's weird. I didn't want to see it for that reason alone. Everything else is whatever. It's just whatever. I've heard other people say like, yeah, it's good, but that part is weird. And I was like, well, why don't I just not watch it then? You know, like, why do I have to put up with any weirdness? I'll just not watch it and just watch the next thing. But yeah. Oh, I thought I was the only one that didn't like Adventure Time. Oh no, you're not the only one. You're not the only one for sure. There's a lot of fans of certain things where they're just very loud, and they make you think because they're loud they have the majority, or that they are the like popular opinion. Not true. They're just obsessive freaks usually, but you know. It's just, yeah, it didn't vibe with me either. It didn't vibe with me either. Yeah. I tried to get into it. I like really tried because I heard other people say that they liked it. But no. It fucking switch turned off in my brain and I was not feeling it. Do you know about the Professor X and Magneto ship they actually put in? No. No, I didn't. But that's pretty funny too. For me, Adventure Time and Phineas and Ferb, after that I gave up on American animation. Yeah, you know, Phineas and Ferb, I didn't hate it, but the thing that frustrated me the most was that it was essentially a repetitive plot. And some people really like that style of cartoon, but it was too much. It was too much for me. Like, I felt like I've always kind of not been a fan of repetition. Like, it literally will drive me insane. So I couldn't stand watching episodes of Phineas and Ferb where I knew the same thing was going to happen over and over and over again. Like, it drove me crazy. But I've seen funny clips from that show. So there's that, right? There's, like, funny clips that you can just take out of Phineas and Ferb. But I can't stand, like, actually watching a full episode where I know exactly what's going to happen. And, yeah. Another Fairly Odd Parents cartoon, 2 SpongeBob spin-offs, Simpsons on life support, and don't know what Cartoon Network and Disney has lately. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it hasn't been doing very good here in the States as far as entertainment. Not just for cartoons, for, like, kinda everything, right? It's like the sad story of me trying to find my career. When I was young, I was so certain that I wanted to get into animation. Like, so certain. By God. So then I go to college to, like, do the animation thing, right? Which in of itself, a mistake. But I gave it my shot. And then at that point, by the time I like was just starting out college, I already saw the shift away from 2D animation to 3D animation. And I don't really care about it that much nowadays, right? I still do kind of care, but the fact of the matter is I was very stubborn in the fact that I didn't want to do any 3D animation or CGI or any of that. I wasn't into that. That wasn't my passion. And so, like, I kind of just, because there are, or at the time, there were no job openings for anything but that. It was like nobody wanted to invest any money into 2D animation. So I just, like, hit the big red button and decided, okay, well, I'll switch to plan 2, or plan B or whatever. Not the pill, but the second plan, which was to indulge in my passion in comics, because I love comics as well. And it would probably cause me, like, less hand issues than animation would. But, you know, bad luck, very bad luck. I think it's very common for a lot of kids, especially these days, to say, you know, I was born in the wrong generation, because it does seem like things, at least career-wise, have been getting a lot worse. Economy-wise, right, have been getting a lot worse. Because comics aren't doing that good either now. Animation wasn't doing that good when I was like, oh man, I want to get into animation, but this doesn't look like a good time for me to do that. Maybe I should, like, do comics instead, at least until I see things turn around. And now comics aren't doing that well either, you know? They're both going downhill. All entertainment just going downhill for, like, maybe different reasons, maybe similar reasons in some aspects, but not a good time. Not a good time to really be getting into anything creative, at least career-wise. So now I'm just doing the best thing that I can do, which is staying independent and working on perfecting my own craft, doing indie comics, until whatever shitstorm is happening sorts itself out. And yeah, that's kind of just where I am now. You want to talk about bad timing and choosing a career in a dying industry? I went to college for radio in 2002. God damn. Yeah, I mean, like, I did go to get my associate's degree. I got my associate's degree in multimedia, which is just like a fancy way of saying, like, a master of none, but, like, good at doing kind of multiple things that involve media and entertainment. So, like, video editing, basically, is one of the things that I kind of learned with that degree, that falls under that degree, which I guess I utilized for YouTube mostly. So yeah, I can do videos. Yay. Not what I want to do, but I guess that maybe is a... I don't think you can actually get a job with that degree, the multimedia degree. It's basically just like a stepping stone for maybe an internship, maybe? To be like, yeah, well, I sort of know how to use like Photoshop and the video editor. It's close. But, yeah. You're in the right place at the right time. You just saved me from making a poor life decision with someone who that is offering me an inappropriate relationship. What? I am thankful, thanks. Oh, cool, cool. Went to college for radio in 2013. Still work in the industry, so I guess I got lucky. Yeah, I guess so. Thing is, even before all the political stuff, I saw that entertainment was becoming less entertaining as soon as the 2010s rolled around. Yeah, it was around that time, wasn't it? Where things just started going downhill. Video games shifting the way they did was the canary in the coal mine for me. Yeah, I mean, like, the political stuff has been around, like, since the late 60s, basically. Like, all the really awful, super extreme political stuff, that's been around for a long time. It's just like it kicked into full swing, like a sleeping giant, more so recently in the past 10 or so years. And I think a lot of people weren't prepared for it, or just were like ignoring it, like snowballing for a long time, not really dealing with it for a long time. I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't alive for that long that I could give you like a play-by-play how it got as bad as it did, but yeah, there's a lot of problems for sure with entertainment from different aspects, right? Comics got their own problems, animation's got their own problems, movies, TV shows certainly have their own problems. But yeah, it's like animation. I thought like the biggest problem at the time, I thought, was them moving away from 2D animation. Boy, was I wrong, because fuck, there's a lot of cartoons that just were absolute stinkers. Ugh. And 2D animated cartoons that were just absolute stinkers. Just like beautiful, but terribly written. But yeah. 80s to 2000s was peak for all entertainment. There's, yeah, I hear a lot of people argue that 90s was, like, peak. There's a lot of different, like, peaks, though. If we're like, talking, there's a lot of ups and downs that happened throughout the, golden age period. Like, what did you get? You got, like, Little Mermaid in the 80s, right? And then you get like Tarzan in the 90s, but then you also get Pocahontas. You know, like there's good hits and then there's bad hits, and nowadays there's just no hits. It's just nothing. It feels like everything that comes out feels the same for the most part. It's just all following the same formula, the same safe, or what they think is safe politics, and poorly written. The standard has gone down rather than going up, and that's a big problem. Think of the end of Hero Academia? Oh, did it end? I haven't read that manga in years, man. It's been a while. Thank goodness anime and manga exist as well. Oh yeah. But you know, anime and manga are going to start changing too. So that's something to also be wary of. because I don't want to see anime and manga go down the same path that American entertainment has gone down. But right now, America is probably the biggest spender for anime and manga. I mean, besides Japan, obviously. But for that reason alone, they want to cater to America more and more throughout the years. And unfortunately, the advice that they get as far as catering to America is not given by the people. It's given by the production committees and all the corporations that were responsible for destroying entertainment in America are the ones that tell Japan what America wants to see. And that is very unfortunate. I don't want to see that continue any longer, and I hope that Japan continues to stand its ground against that stuff and just like make what you're inspired to make, you know? But yeah, it's whatever. I guess indie is the future. I hope so. I mean, like, I'm just doing the only thing that I can do, basically, right now. I don't... I get, like, some freelance jobs here and there, but it's not a career. That's why I'm doing my own thing and trying to polish my skill up as much as possible. Oh, thanks for the 5, Patrick. You have said that you have gotten troubles with your hands before your work and practice. Did you make any stretch with your hands? Did you make any stretch? I don't really have that much issue with my hand anymore, but it used to be really bad for a while. It used to be awful, but nowadays it's a lot better. If I do ever have like aches and pains, it's pretty rare. The America they were paying attention to wasn't the average American, it was the terminally online activist weirdos. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Coffee Comics speculates Japan animation studios are near financial ruin, and so that DEI money, sick. Ew. Yeah, that would be the most unfortunate, is if Japan started taking money from BlackRock or something. But what they have been doing, because they're looking for cheaper animation, they really want to pump out quantity because of how much anime has been booming, and they just don't have enough people in Japan, enough animators in Japan, to keep up with the quantity demand. And you can't pay them really that much more than what you're already paying them, so they're overcompensating by hiring out of Japan. They're hiring in Korea now, and they're hiring in China, I believe, in some cases, when it comes to making anime. And because it's also cheaper, you know, that ends up being competition for hiring in Japan in general. Yeah, quantity over quality. That tends to be, unfortunately, what a lot of capitalism comes down to, because people really need to have standards. The consumer really needs to have standards, and they need to learn to sorry. I should have brought up some water with me. I always make this mistake. Why do I do this? I drank water before coming up there, I swear. And what I was saying is the consumer needs to learn how to advocate for themselves and actually, like, make a difference when the quality of the product is going down. It's like everybody complains about Netflix, but if you hate Netflix so much, why didn't you cancel your subscription? You know, stuff like that. Like, I remember Amazon did something bad at some point, and my mom canceled her Amazon subscription for a month. And then the next month she went back on it. And it's like, why? I thought you were upset with them. Why did you only... As though a month gone subscription really hurt Amazon as a company? She's like, well, it's just convenient. It's just convenient to have it. It's like, come on. It's the unwillingness to advocate for yourself and actually, like, change. But, yeah, there's this other story that I believe Adam told me at one point. It was the Coca-Cola thing. Coca-Cola used to always sell in glass bottles because glass is, like, the superior way to enjoy a drink. And at some point, Coca-Cola was making the switch to plastic bottles. But before they made the switch official, they had people, like, beta test it, you know? They had, what do they call them? Where they put them all in a room and have them sample the Coca-Cola in the plastic bottles, and they get, like, their thoughts on it. You know, one of those things. Forget what it was called, but it was whatever. I'm thirsty, and I'm just gonna move past that part. So, all of the tests were negative. Everyone had negative opinions on the new plastic Coca-Cola bottles. They were like, it tastes bad, the bottle's ugly, and also, like, it's bad for you. Because people did know that plastic was bad for you back then. Even though people like to pretend, like, oh, we didn't know. Yeah, people knew. People always knew. But despite that, yeah, focus group, that was it. Despite that, they went along with the plastic bottles anyway, despite everyone having negative opinions on it. Because they figured the money that they saved was worth people being upset about the change, because eventually people would just get used to it and continue buying anyway. So long as they made it the new standard to have Coca-Cola in plastic bottles, then people would just accept that as the standard. And when they held their ground and started selling in plastic bottles, other companies started doing the same thing. And that did become the standard. And despite the fact that nobody liked it, they still bought it. They still bought it because they weren't willing to stand their ground. They weren't willing to advocate for themselves. And that's kind of the biggest issue with capitalism. I'm not an anti-capitalist, but the issue is really, I guess it's really more with the people than anything else. We have, like, low morale, really. Like, people who just are constantly feeling ashamed, or as though they have no control in their lives. As though they can't, oh, well, it is what it is, I can't do anything about this. And so they just always accept the new normal, even when it's worse, and even when you could do something about it. Well, you could stand up for yourself, you know? You could just refuse to buy it until it's back in a glass bottle. But they don't. Because they eventually just get used to things being worse. Which also just continues to make people more and more miserable. And the more miserable you are, the more willing you are to accept it when things get worse. So it's a big morale problem, more than anything else. But yeah, it's obviously an issue with big companies as well. Thanks for the 5. Anime is declining in profitability because the population declines worldwide, including Japan. Yes, Japan is suffering a population crisis. They are taking methods, they're taking measurements and methods and doing stuff to try to fix their population problem. You know, hopefully mostly methods that don't include immigration, because immigration is not a real problem fixer for population crisis. But, you know, it's more consumerism than capitalism, to be honest. That's an argument that you can make. The people consuming are not standing for anything. Yeah, it kind of seems like that, you know? And I get it to some extent, especially like going back to entertainment. Everybody's always talking about the next new show that they're enjoying. Doesn't matter what streaming service, or if it's on TV, or if it's a new anime, or whatever. Everyone always wants to talk about the new thing that they're enjoying. They want to talk about it with a friend, and they want to get excited over it with their friend, and, you know, they want those endorphins of, like, being excited over something that's good. I get it. I do. I get it. I also crave these feelings to, like, get excited over something that's cool, and it's new, and it's exciting. Oh man, I can't wait for the next episode, right? but then you get like somewhat of a desperation to like something, even when it's not good, even when the quality is not up to what your standard would normally be. You're just so desperate to like something that's new and that's out there that sometimes people will even lower their standards to be like, oh well, it's not quite what I wanted, but it's not as bad as this other thing. It's not as bad as the other show, so I'm really enjoying it compared to that other show. And you know, that's not really like it's not really raising your standards, you're lowering them. You're comparing it to something worse to pretend like it's good. Oh, thank you, Mandcarry and Captain Hyrule. Japan needs to recognize woke Westerners attempting to colonize them. Have you seen the latest Assassin's Creed game with Yasuke being the MC? I was already translating it to main character in my head, even though I know it's MC. I have not seen the new Assassin's Creed game, but I did hear about it offhand by somebody else who mentioned it before, or some video maybe Adam was watching in the background. Yeah, I was never a big Assassin's Creed fan, but you kind of see it coming with Sony. They're already they just don't care anymore. They're taking that BlackRock money, man. Sony's a lost cause, you know? Or is that Sony? Am I thinking of a different company? I think whatever. Excuse me if I got that wrong. Mark Schaefer, 20. Man, too much going on at work. Here for the support. Well, thank you, man. That's awesome. It's like putting water into a bucket with holes in it. Yeah, kind of. Ubisoft. Ubisoft, yeah. There it is. Sony too, though. Oh, God. Yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, that's not right. Oh, man. They're heavily connected with Sony? Okay. Yes, it's whatever. Ubisoft is trying to rewrite Japanese history. Yeah. It's not a good look. Definitely not a good look. There was some other game. I don't remember who the heck was doing this game, but there was some other game where you play as Aztecs and you kill the Spanish. And that game managed to get, whatever that game was, I don't even remember the name, but that game did manage to get a lot of backlash because even the natives there didn't like the Aztecs because they were very violent, and a lot of them ended up like joining forces with the Spanish to defeat them. But, you know, that's like it's a whole other thing with like people getting history wrong and then like supporting the wrong version of that history and supporting like, I think after the backlash, somebody, or they had like some sort of social media post afterwards that was like, oh well, we'll make another faction available for you to play as in the game. It won't just be the Aztecs, or, you know, like trying to backpedal, like, oh, actually, you can also play as the other natives. But I don't even remember. I wouldn't play that game. That's a little bit strange. Oh, jeez. How is it that, like, the cartoon Road to El Dorado movie tends to get the Southern American natives right when a modern game gets it wrong? Yeah. Main characters were ethnically from the region instead. Japanese male and female main characters. They made the male black, who was never a samurai. Okay. So that's, yeah, that's a whole thing. Apparently, in history, there was one black samurai that ever existed in Japan. I don't know if he was actually a samurai or if it's some sort of vigilante thing, but apparently in history there was one. There was one that existed. I don't know much about it, but obviously they are taking some creative liberties. One thing I don't see people pointing out is how a black man is supposed to blend into the crowd in ancient Japan. Who killed this man? You're killing me. Afro samurai? No. Apparently there really was like a real like black guy in Japan who really was like a, I don't know if he was like an official samurai or if he was just like his own like thing, but I feel like I heard about this somewhere. Okay, maybe Dannphan's sources from like her memory is not good, but yeah. No, I can understand why people would find that Assassin's Creed game to be extremely jarring and strange. Wasn't there an anime about him? Yeah, perhaps. That would make sense. You're thinking of Yasuke, and it's unclear whether he was really a samurai in the sense we understand the term. Okay, fair enough. MC should have been a new Japanese character, and Yasuke should be an important NPC that gets a standalone DLC later. That's an interesting thought. You know, that would be a good, like, good compromise, right? So that the story continues to make sense, but you can still have that character exist in there. The point is that Yasuke existed but was not a samurai, and they did this only to push a woke narrative. Well, I mean, if they know that there was one guy in history who really was a black samurai in theory, then of course they're gonna make that guy the main character in their Japanese Assassin's Creed game. They've pulled bullshit like that before, though. They have. Not with I'm getting like flashbacks of like the Call of Duty World War II game where they had like the disabled woman leading the front lines or something. If you don't want people to laugh, you can't make the concepts ridiculous, you know? Yasuke should have been played by Chris Rock. Yeah? I think that would have worked. Alright. Alright. Japan, isolation, America in 1953. You're gonna trade with us and you're gonna like it. Goddamn right. To be fair, like, people from Europe went to Japan before it went into isolation. But yes, it did eventually go into isolation. Yeah, so, like, I forget, like, names. I'm not good with history and names or dates, but I do remember the general idea of the history. There was, like, a Christian from Europe, traveled with, another Japanese person to Japan, and their goal, their mission was to spread Christianity in Japan, and Japan was Christian for a while. A little known fact, right? And then eventually, was it China? Well, somebody else, they took over and they wanted to spread Taoism instead into Japan. And so, like, people who still wanted to practice Christianity had to pretend that they weren't Christian, because they would not be treated well if they were found out. And that was during the isolation period, where they were like, no one else come into Japan. And then, yes, eventually they did open up again. But it wasn't the first time that that outsiders have gone to Japan or anything. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of comments. Jesus. That is... Yasuke was there. He was a page for the Jishut. The woke crowd are trying to compare Shadow to Neo in order to cry racism. I have no idea. The shogunate believed Christians were planning to establish a slave trade. He was right. Christians freed a lot of slaves, though. That was like a very popular thing to do, is that Christians would buy slaves so that they could free them. Or they would, they'd give them a place in the church. But they were free, they could technically leave the church. I guess that's still kind of a thing, but I don't really know about what specifics you were talking about. The Dutch were trading with Japan from 1609, I think. Interesting. What's that song playing in the background? Honestly, it's just something from StreamYard. It's called lo-fi. You have the option to, like, put background music onto your stream when you're live, and I just clicked the one that said lo-fi, so I don't actually know what song it is. But it's lo-fi. I can also, like, upload songs to play in the background, but I thought that was probably acceptable. Just some, like, chill beats to have on in the background. It's probably fine. Yeah, so history, don't rewrite it, y'all. Yeah, that's a good summary. Main problem is that Assassin's Creed games claim to be historically accurate. No, they've never been historically accurate. I've very often laughed at some of the things that they've pulled in previous games. Don't even get me started on the Assassin's Creed game where you, like, go back during the Crusades. That was stupid. That was so stupid what they... anyway. No tangents. No tangents. But, yeah, no, I can understand why people would be upset about that. It's a very odd choice. And obviously you would have to do a lot of work to make it make sense. But, anyway. Is there any other news you want me to go over? Or, because I feel like I've probably said everything that I could have said without a... Now I'm just looking at, like, news articles, whatever Bounding into Comics has to offer me. Wow. Following Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer premiere, former Ubisoft contractor reveals rejected pitch for historically accurate franchise entry. Interesting. Now, that's one of the articles that they have listed on here, but yeah. I probably don't know enough about Assassin's Creed to really have a longer conversation about it than that. Like, a lot of the things I know are pretty scattered. Because, like I said, I've never really been a fan of the franchise. It's never really been my thing, so it's not like I've played a bunch of games from the franchise. But I get it. I do. I get the strangeness of that. Is the campaign still going? Which campaign? Yep. Ubisoft is fronting you don't own games. Yeah. Yeah, of course they are. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that where they're like, oh, well, you can buy something, but you'll never own it. We'll always own it. You have to be online all the time to play it, and then we can just take it off whenever you want. Whenever we want. That's always been bad. It's always just been bad business. Did you cover any X-Men 97 stuff? No, I'm not going to watch it, so... Sorry. There's going to be something called Toonami Rewind? Really? A 2-hour block on Cartoon Network airing classic anime. Going to have Dragon Ball Z Kai, Sailor Moon with VizDub, and Naruto. That's funny. I made like a Twitter post where I was talking about how I had a friend who really enjoyed the original dub of Sailor Moon. And I was asking, like, oh, anyone else feel the same way? Do you like the original non-accurate dub to Sailor Moon? And you'd be surprised. A lot of people were like, hell yeah, that's my shit. Even though, like, it was super inaccurate. You know, in a weird way, I kind of get it. Because I kind of feel that way about Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I understand that it's not at all accurate to what the dub should be, but it does have a little bit of nostalgia to it. I'll give them this much. Serena is a much prettier name than Usagi. But I've never really seen Sailor Moon. Don't get me wrong. I saw one episode of Sailor Moon. I saw the Viz dub. And I saw one episode, and I just didn't get it, so I just didn't keep watching. But I kind of want to eventually watch more of it with someone who does like Sailor Moon, because then maybe I'll get it. It's like if I have reference to see what I should be feeling, then maybe it'll all come together. What do you think about comic authors branching out into less common genres? I see a lot of fantasy and supernatural comics and manga these days, but not as many new sci-fi stories. I mean, I don't think sci-fi is less common. I think, like, they're all fairly common if you just know where to look. Like, I had this whole thing... I mean, I still kind of have this whole thing where I'm really annoyed that every fantasy that comes out of manga has been an isekai. But when you go to actually look for fantasy series that are not isekais, that are genuinely just takes place in a fantasy universe, the variety that you have is actually very sparse. There's actually not a lot of fantasy stories out there that are isekais. That are not isekais, because they're capitalizing on an isekai being very easy to sell to people who are really into them. But yeah, I've seen tons of like sci-fi stories as well. I mean, like Adam right now is working on a sci-fi book, which will probably be his next one that he comes out with. Cyberpunk Edge Runners didn't come out that long ago. Sonic City Witch is on my website, and that's probably gonna be campaigning for the full graphic novel when that's ready to go. So I think it's just a matter of like trying to, you know, knowing where to look as far as like finding the genre that you're looking for. Man, I have like, I literally, when I was looking for fantasy manga that are not isekais, I was literally just scrolling on this website that just lists every manga ever, or at least every one that has been reviewed and has an English translation with it. And I only tabbed like a couple, like only a handful of them were not isekais. Or at least not isekais, and I haven't already read them. Because obviously I've read a lot of them because I was interested in that exact thing. But yeah, not a lot. There was not a whole lot to actually bookmark for reading later. Part of the reason why I'm reading Berserk is because there's not a lot of options out there as far as fantasy things that are not isekais. So there's always that one genre that blows up and then everyone wants to copy it. And I think isekai is one of those genres for sure. And then another one of those genres is the body swap thing. When your name became super popular and made a bunch of money, everyone was doing the body swap plot. Everyone. And I was into it for like a second until I actually started reading the rest of the manga, like other manga that use that same body swap plot. I started reading more of those to see if they would be as good as Your Name. They weren't. In fact, they were mostly disgusting. They were mostly just degenerate garbage. But it happens. It happens, you know? And I'm sure there's more examples of that exact thing happening where there's just a like particular genre, a particular plot that becomes very popular, and then like 8 more series get made where they just try to copy that plot, right? It happens so often. But yeah, it's part of the reason why like there will be so many different versions of the same plot, but not really a whole lot of variety with a genre, with like an entire genre of manga. Thanks, JB. In another world, stories let writers skip writing childhood while having characters still be in adolescence. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think a lot of people who are into isekais really like the idea of someone becoming really powerful. More than anything else, it's like power fantasy a lot of the time. That's what I've noticed anyway. It's like a big trend to just have the main character be reincarnated and become super strong. That's obviously not always the case, but that's a lot of them. Lots of revenge fantasies? Oh god, yeah. Oh, you're totally right on the money with that one. I already just thought of like 4 different ones when you mentioned that. Isekais are the Japanese version of Western portal fantasies. Only difference is the MC of portal fantasies goes back to our world. I don't know any Western portal fantasies. Like, I don't... Western portal fantasy. I mean, when I think of portal fantasy, like that word to describe something, I'm thinking of Gate. But Gate is also a Japanese thing. Narnia? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. There's Narnia. It's a British thing, but I guess that is technically west of Japan. Not west of where I am, but... or maybe if I go far enough west, sure. Yeah. Magician's Nephew, I haven't heard of that. I don't know what Magician's Nephew is. Stargate? Stargate is not a portal fantasy. Stargate is a space adventure. You're like traveling from planet to planet. I mean, they might go through a portal sometimes, but by that logic, is like Star Wars a portal fantasy? I don't think so. Wizard of Oz? Well, that was supposed to be a dream at the end. Which is also another like cliche, is when when the character wakes up and it was all a dream the whole time. Alice in Wonderland? I guess. All of these examples are like super far apart from each other though. Stargate, I guess it's a literal portal. Sliders Quantum Leap? Yeah, but you could argue that Star Wars does the same thing. They have that same technology. It's a very common sci-fi technology, is that you go through a portal from, I was going to say place to place, but I guess it's really more like space to space. Because, you know, you're traveling at the speed of light, which is basically just going through a portal. I don't think that really falls under that. I think they're talking about something else. Futurama, maybe? No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just, you can't equate like light speed as being the same as going through a portal into another world. It's just not. You're giving like the argument like, is the hot dog a sandwich? It just doesn't work like that. We have a separate category for the thing because it's different. Sliders has them jumping into parallel worlds. Yeah, but now you're getting into like multiverse territory, you know? Oh, anyway, we're actually over time. We're like 6 minutes over the hour mark, at least according to this timer up here. But this was an interesting conversation, I'll give it that. I'll give it that. So, I guess my point was just like, when something becomes popular in Japan, what very often happens is that a lot of manga will try to duplicate the success of one story, and how they often duplicate it is just by writing the same thing but changing little bits and pieces here. And I like the idea of taking a good plot and having another writer and artist take over that plot and do it better. I think that's really good, honestly. But that's not what ends up happening, because a lot of these isekais kind of just turn out to be the same, which is just bad. It's just a bad idea to go through all the effort of like copying an idea, but then like not changing anything about it. That really drives me nuts, right? But I like the idea of taking a good plot, fixing it, right? And putting your own twist on it, trying to make it better than what the original was. It's good. Thanks for the 10, Marshalt. Yes, hot dogs are sandwiches. Okay. Alright, buddy. Whatever you say. But yeah, thanks for joining us on the Friday with Dannphan streams. I guess next stream will be Tuesday? Yeah, I guess we could do another drawing with Dannphan, unless something else comes up. We got like another fair to go to this weekend. But yeah, we can do the rest of the Free-Rin sketch that I started from the last Tuesday, and we can color it up or something, or we can start on something new. Whatever you guys want to see. So, good night, everybody. We'll see you next time, and look forward to that next video I got coming out on Wednesday. Bye, everybody!